Hi, I'm Elijah. Don't mind me, I'm just going through a fatal illness at the moment. It's fatal for my spare time. That's right, I have gaming fever, which means I have to play a game. And this compulsion is making me re-review a Super Nintendo game. However will I cope? Fuck this. There are a ton of racing games out there, like Gran Turismo, Need for Speed, Burnout, but for many people, the definitive racing experience has to be
Welcome to Mario Kart!
Almost anybody with a pulse out in the world has played a Mario Kart game, and if you haven't, the door is right there. It's one of those games that most people can pick it up, play it, and like it. Not to mention, it's a system seller. I mean, sure, there's stuff like Mario Party and Smash Bros that has something to say about it, but who gives a shit? It's freaking Mario Kart. I mean, what's not to like? You're racing around in the Mario universe in go-karts, going around a couple of tracks and a few laps trying to win first or second if you're a fucking loser. Item boxes all around the track with items for offense and defense, which that alone makes the game more fun than most other racers, which adds some strategy to it with becoming exceedingly great at the game. Also, it's been friendly plagiarized all the time. I mean, Crash Team Racing is unique, but it's not Mario Kart. Mario Kart is an enjoyable experience with challenge and with this word people tend to use. But with this game being a series, there is a process in which the last game that we've played gets overlooked by the new one. Wow, Mario Kart DS is great, but do you know what's better? Each entry is an evolution from the last and has some stuff that others probably don't have, sometimes. This not only keeps the series fresh as it comes up with new ideas, but it also makes each game unique and has some reasons to go back to them, in cases of nostalgia or if it's Mario Kart Double Dash. So I think it makes perfect sense for us to go all the way back to the beginning before my conception and see the first Mario Kart game in the series, Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo. When it comes to racing games, they weren't anything new on the NES or SNES. They had games with Mario on box arts and in advertisements on the Famicom, except we got Mach Rider and Rad Racer here in the States. But then came the launch of the Super Nintendo and the game F-Zero released worldwide. The game was advanced, fast, and showed how the Super Nintendo could do pseudo 3D. F-Zero was using the Mode 7 graphics chip on the SNES, which allowed it to display visuals that looked 3D without straining the console. It was a technical showcase for the Super Nintendo by far, and an impressive launch title at best. The one problem F-Zero had was that it lacked multiplayer. F-Zero was actually way too extreme with its speed and power to put in a multiplayer. So that meant Nintendo had to go back to the drawing board and brainstorm a new racing game with multiplayer and accessible to everybody. They wanted it to be similar to F-Zero, but in a slower pace with go-karts being the vehicle of choice. They also had to go as far and try to create some new characters, which were some generic guys in overalls, which at that point Nintendo just went,
Where's the Italian?
And from there on out, Super Mario Kart was born. My first experience with the Mario Kart series was when I started on the 3DS in Mario Kart 7. Back then, I didn't even know that Mario Kart was a series, and I didn't even know why there was a 7 there. I was first able to play the first Mario Kart when I first got the Switch Online subscription, and it worked fine, but whenever I do, I have a feeling of, why? But that was when I was older. But now I'm older. So let's see what Nintendo had in store for us with Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo. Well, this is Super Mario Kart, the title doesn't lie, and be honest with yourself, there's probably no other game that could be titled as this. Let's get a race going. Now we have our choices between 50 and 100cc, with 150cc being unlocked after we play the other cups. But before we select the cup, we have to select our character, and well, this is what you would call a Super Mario Kart character roster. We have everybody's favorites: Mario, Luigi, Peach, Dopey, Bashful, Spyro, Who the Fuck, and Yoshi. Donkey Kong Jr., the only character to not make another Mario Kart appearance until Mario Kart World Tour on phones. Now you see this, boys and girls? This is what we would call an odd omission. Basically that means, why is this in here? I mean, by now this makes Super Mario Kart pretty unique for having him in the game, but it doesn't explain why he's there in the first place. Now, to be fair, the rules on who can actually be in a Mario Kart really wasn't a thing. Also, I don't even think that rule even is a thing. Plus, the modern day Donkey Kong characters weren't a thing up until 2 years later after Super Mario Kart with Donkey Kong Country in 1994. But again, I have to ask, why Donkey Kong Jr. not regular Donkey Kong? Was there a protest that I missed? Throwing that out of the way, we select a cup with the last one being unlocked after we do all the other cups. You gotta enter yourself in the first place, where at the end you'll get the gold cup, which is a main Mario Kart staple. And now we start the Super Mario Kart experience. And boy does it love map lovers. Did I ever mention this game was meant for 2 players? Either I forgot to mention it, or you weren't paying attention. When playing the game in single player, the game is always in a split screen view. I mean, it makes Super Mario Kart unique, but it also makes it a little bit unnecessary. Uniquely unnecessary. Unnecessarily unique. Unnecessarily. Now controlling the game is something special. You accelerate with the B button. I thought this was Mario Kart, not bullshit. When you want to use an item, you use the A button. Well, this is an odd jump for fingers. I think for most people, I think they would prefer Y to be accelerate and B use items. I don't know, it's weird for me because I don't actually see much of a problem with it. I mean, it's still a problem, but only a minor problem. Also, Y is used to brake. I also then realized I probably have fat fingers. But the Y button also helps with drifting, and then that becomes the real problem with the game. So we drift with the L and R buttons, and sometimes we have to use Y. That would seem pretty simple enough, but by God is it terrifying. And it stinks! Drifting in Mario Kart is one of the most comfortable things to do in the game. It makes you feel better than everyone else. Also, I think it's practically a law that you have to drift in Mario Kart. Fail to abide by this. Here, drifting feels heavy. Sometimes I could actually do it, and it gets me in a false sense of security where I'm like, okay guys, I'm about to drift, and then I drift my ass into a wall. Look, I'm on the copy of Jackass Monthly. You know what this kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of rail grinding in Sonic games. Nowadays it's easy, but back in Sonic Adventure 2, God. So even though that I try to drift, I most of the time don't even try. Now you may think, doesn't that make you slower to the computer players? Yes, but that doesn't matter because then we get to the other problem, the CPUs that cheat. Most Mario Kart games have a unique balance of fun and challenging for single player, half the time. But even the most fun Mario Kart has some random bullshit happening with players or items. Rubber banding AI is a term that comes to fruition in this game as the CPUs have better advantages than you no matter what you do. Which is cow manure. I've been saying bullshit far too much. This time, I have to stop. It's only a matter of time when you hit a character with a random something and they're still behind your ass. That's not to mention that most of the other computer players have special powers that you don't have. The Mario Bros can be invisible whenever they want. Toad and Peach can throw poisonous mushrooms. Yoshi throws eggs. Bowser spits fire. They can all do it without running over an item plate. And don't even get me started on the hazards. These are really hard to recover from. I can't count how many times Monty Mole's been over my face. Now that doesn't mean that you're completely powerless. If you run over one of these item plates, you have something to get you insured for. You have your standard Mario items, bananas, red and green shells to do damage, mushrooms to get a speed boost. The mushroom in this game is very unusual. In other games, you get like a boost animation. Here you pray to God that you don't crash into a flat wall. The shells, I mean, they're alright, but the red ones will sometimes hit the wall when I have a clear shot, like, come on. And the banana, I mean, they're fine, but I don't curse out Nintendo if I ever slip on one. You have the boo, which turns you transparent and steal other players' items, but that's only for the battle mode. However, this then became a mainstay item in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It gives you a high jump, and that's it. It really doesn't do much, it's just an item that I can waste. I mean, if there's a shortcut and you can use the feather there, yeah, go nuts. But most of the time, I'll generally just waste it so I can get an item that I can actually use. The item did reappear back in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but for the battle mode, but then it's used everywhere else in Mario Kart World, which, same thing, it's like an item that I can waste, but there is some versatility, but it's kind of rare. You have the invincibility star, a lightning bolt to do damage, and coins. Coins are scattered all over the track and it's used to gain speed. It's also a major item that's found in item plates, though it wasn't much of a major item as they later took it out in the next game, then put it back in, took it out, try again. But with all of that said, these items can help you with the bullshit happening on screen. The tracks here are heavily inspired by Super Mario World with Donut Plains, Choco Mountain, Ghost Valley, Vanilla Lake, and Bowser Castle. Each track doesn't seem much, but it's alright. But my god, does it get repetitive. You're telling me they couldn't program a sunset into Mario Circuit? But there is one track that is the most distinct. Rainbow Road, the most iconic in the game, and you will fall off of it. Each track is divided into 4 separate cups, with the last one being unlocked by grinding. And now it's time to bring in my patented If you're anything below 4th place, you have to give up one of your continues in order to proceed to the next races. In other Mario games, if you get anything below 4th, you still get to play the game. where each game goes, yeah, you may be a fucking loser, but you're our fucking loser. Now cry. So after playing the Grand Prix, what else is there to do? You could do time trials. If we had another person, we could play the multiplayer Grand Prix or the battle mode. Yeah, without another person, I can't play the multiplayer. Unless if I use 2 controllers at once. I could've just looked up people's testimonies. So that's Super Mario Kart. Overall, I mean, it's fine. It is a genuine slog to go through single player, but from what I heard about multiplayer, well, I mean, nothing groundbreaking, there seems to be some charm. This is definitely a product of its time. You would definitely need an original controller and cartridge, or the Super Nintendo Classic Edition. Playing this on any other modern Nintendo console, you'll end up just playing the Mario Kart for the system. So Super Mario Kart single player wise, it's a bitch to play, but with friends, it's simple, plain fun Mario Kart. It's just there are many better options. Well, after a statement like that, I guess I can play the game again and nothing is gonna get in my way.
Hello, this is Nintendo speaking.
Fuck you.